America's war on Mexican cartels has entered a new deadly phase. Behind secret missions and drone strikes lies a weapon few understand: the vacuum bomb. This thermobaric device unleashes a devastating blast that obliterates cartel drug labs, even those hidden deep underground or behind fortified walls. What exactly happens when a vacuum bomb hits a cartel stronghold? Join us as we reveal the raw power and brutal impact of this game-changing weapon. For years, the United States has deployed elite military units across the southern border, conducting covert operations with careful precision and secrecy. Working alongside trusted Mexican military forces, these teams tracked cartel leaders. These missions remained nearly invisible, while the U.S. government maintained silence, allowing Mexico to take public credit. Meanwhile, cartels responded by placing bounties on suspected American agents. Several U.S. operatives have quietly lost their lives in these operations. Yet a major shift is underway. The cartels now face total eradication under new directives from the current U.S. administration. Just 2 weeks after taking office, this administration officially designated 8 major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This reclassification grants U.S. forces, particularly the Navy, expanded authority to conduct counterterrorism operations against them. The CIA has intensified its role, deploying advanced drones to surveil cartel activities across Mexico, gathering covert intelligence from the skies. Military experts indicate that the U.S. is preparing for a large-scale strike, the most significant since the early War on Terror campaigns. 6 current and former officials from the military, law enforcement, and intelligence communities report that drone strikes targeting cartel leaders, vehicles, drug laboratories, and storage facilities are under serious consideration. Discussions between the White House, the Department of Defense, and senior intelligence leaders are ongoing, with the Mexican government reportedly aware of these plans. This aggressive stance is not without precedent. In 2020, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper revealed that then-President Trump had inquired about launching missile strikes on drug labs in Mexico, with subsequent denials. Although Trump and his team denied these claims, many believe such ideas have persisted within current policy circles. Cartels have attempted to counter aerial surveillance by shooting down drones and using tunnels for concealment. However, drones are likely to be only a minor concern moving forward. Reports indicate the U.S. government plans to deploy B-2 bombers armed with vacuum bombs to obliterate cartel hideouts and drug manufacturing sites. Vacuum bombs, also known as thermobaric or fuel-air explosives, represent some of the most powerful weapons in modern warfare. Their unique design uses oxygen from the surrounding air as an oxidizer. Unlike traditional explosives that carry both fuel and oxidizer, vacuum bombs release a dispersed explosive cloud, ignited either spontaneously or by a secondary charge. When detonated, this cloud generates extreme temperatures and a devastating pressure wave, which is often the most lethal effect. These weapons vary in size, ranging from handheld grenades to massive devices like the father of all bombs, which can deliver explosive force equivalent to 44 tons of TNT. The origins of thermobaric weapons date back to the First World War, where German forces developed incendiary shells known as brand granite. These shells contained a slow-burning substance composed of materials such as tar-soaked tissue and gunpowder dust. Upon detonation, they produced intense flames that burned for approximately 2 minutes, dispersing burning fragments in all directions. Advancements continued into World War II as German researchers pursued vacuum bomb technology under the guidance of Austrian physicist Mario Zipper. However, it was during the Vietnam War that a significant breakthrough in thermobaric weaponry was achieved. The first operational thermobaric bomb, the CBU-55, emerged in 1971 as a prototype deployed by U.S. forces in limited testing. The Air Force Weapons Center at Eglin Air Force Base oversaw experiments, transporting early models to Southeast Asia for evaluation. Trials focused on slower attack aircraft such as the A-37 Dragonfly and the A-1 Skyraider. In late 1971, A-37 pilots from the 604th Special Operations Squadron at Bin Hoa Air Base conducted a series of test missions, followed by further testing at Nakhon Phanom Royal Thai Air Base in December, involving the 1st Special Operations Squadron and the A-1 aircraft. Notable test flights included 4 two-ship A-1 sorties on November 6th and December 2nd, 5th, and 8th. Each aircraft carried 4 CBU-55 canisters. Captain Randy Jane, the test project officer and flight lead at Nakhon Phanom, worked closely with the Eglin team to document results. Despite these efforts, the overall assessment was cautious. The deployment method, 3 propane canisters descending under small parachutes, proved problematic due to vulnerability to wind drift, raising concerns over delivery accuracy and pilot safety when released at lower altitudes to reduce drift. Additionally, the CBU-55's design, featuring a flat rear end, created significant drag. This limited the A-1's capacity to carry other ordnance, such as rockets and cluster bombs, complicating mission planning. From February to March 1972, the U.S. Navy's Light Attack Squadron 4, based at Cam Ranh Bay, conducted experimental sorties using the OV-1 Bronco to support joint U.S. Army and Army of the Republic of Vietnam operations north of the Mong River. The experimental mortar used during these missions prompted the deployment of pathology teams to assess effects on enemy casualties. Although the Air Force ultimately decided against deploying the CBU-55 widely in the combat theater based on these tests at Bin Hoa and Nakhon Phanom, a stockpile of the canisters was maintained as of April 21, 1975. As South Vietnam increasingly came under the control of the People's Army of Vietnam, the CBU-55's use was reconsidered. In a rare operational deployment, a single CBU-55 was flown to Bin Hoa with approval from Major General Homer D. Smith, the senior U.S. military officer in Vietnam, to employ it against North Vietnamese forces and the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. A C-130 transport aircraft deployed the CBU-55 bomb from an altitude of 20,000 feet, resulting in a massive explosion that engulfed an area of approximately 4 acres. Experts estimated that around 250 enemy soldiers perished, primarily due to the rapid depletion of oxygen rather than direct burns. This event marked the only recorded combat use of the CBU-55 during the Vietnam War. South Vietnam ultimately surrendered on April 30, 1975, bringing the conflict to an end. Following the war, the next generation of thermobaric weapons, including the improved CBU-55 variants and the CBU-72 fuel-air explosives, were formally incorporated into the United States military arsenal. These weapons later saw deployment during Operation Desert Storm in Iraq. On the international stage, 1980 saw a joint initiative by Mexico, Switzerland, and Sweden at the United Nations, proposing a ban on thermobaric weapons. Despite their collective effort, the motion faced significant opposition and was ultimately rejected. This outcome underscored the difficulties in forging global consensus on the regulation and prohibition of these powerful weapons. In later years, the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research sought to classify thermobaric weapons under the category of enhanced blast weapons. Around 2010, renewed attempts were made to establish international regulations, recognizing their destructive capabilities. However, these efforts stalled amid complex geopolitical dynamics and divergent national interests, delaying any comprehensive global agreements. During the intensified hunt for Osama bin Laden, the United States faced an urgent tactical challenge, neutralizing enemy forces entrenched within extensive cave networks. This operational necessity spurred the development of the BLU-1818B thermobaric bomb, a weapon engineered to penetrate and destroy such fortified underground complexes. Upon its completion, military experts recognized the BLU-118B for its unprecedented lethality. Its immense destructive power ignited ongoing debates regarding the ethical implications of deploying such a formidable weapon. As geopolitical tensions escalated in the Middle East, the U.S. military deployed the BLU-1818B to dismantle al-Qaeda and Taliban forces hidden deep within Afghanistan's cave systems. This deployment represented a critical component of the broader strategy to address a complex and highly dangerous security threat. On March 2, 2002, a covert military operation took place near Afghanistan, marking a significant moment in modern warfare. A single F-15E Strike Eagle, operated by the 335th Fighter Squadron Chiefs of the 4th Fighter Wing, carried out a mission of critical importance. Suspended beneath the aircraft was the first operational BLU-1818B thermobaric bomb. Using a targeting laser, the F-15E's onboard computer precisely calculated the bomb's trajectory, factoring in altitude, speed, and distance. The weapon was released toward the entrance of a tunnel complex located near a structure resembling a house. As it descended, the bomb's fins and airfoils adjusted to maintain an accurate course, guided by the laser targeting beam. However, the strike did not proceed as planned. Classified details remain undisclosed, but the Pentagon later confirmed that the bomb detonated prematurely, exploding above ground rather than at the intended target. International law does not explicitly prohibit the use of thermobaric weapons, fuel-air explosives, or vacuum bombs in military operations against enemy forces. However, the United Nations Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, particularly its protocol on incendiary weapons, restricts their use against civilian populations and infrastructure. Despite repeated efforts, as of November 2022, no international agreements have been successfully established to regulate or limit thermobaric weapon deployment. Before the United States unleashes the full force of its new vacuum bombs on the cartels, it has already initiated aggressive operations that are severely disrupting their networks. In January 2012, 14 nations, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Spain, Guatemala, and Honduras, partnered with Colombia to initiate Operation Martillo, or Hammer in Spanish. The mission's objective was clear: stop cartel drug shipments by sea. Deploying warships, aircraft, and specialized teams, the operation established a coordinated blockade across key maritime routes between South America and the United States. Within its first year, Operation Martillo achieved significant success. Authorities apprehended 339 smugglers, seized 101 drug-laden vessels, and removed 119 tons of cocaine, worth over $2.3 billion on U.S. streets. Additionally, $21 million in cartel funds and $16 million in equipment used for trafficking were confiscated. These efforts marked a turning point, delivering a powerful blow to cartel operations. Yet the fight against drug smuggling had just started. Operation Orion was another massive multinational mission involving 62 countries, ranging from small island states to major military powers. Together, they set new records by seizing over 225 tons of cocaine, more than 1,000 tons of marijuana, and other drugs valued at over $8.3 billion, drugs that never reached the streets. How was such a feat accomplished? The cartels operated with advanced technology, hidden laboratories, secret tunnels, fast boats, and submarines. Overcoming them required equally advanced cooperation and technology. The U.S. Navy deployed specialized radar capable of detecting even the faintest boat wakes from space. Dutch forces contributed underwater drones to inspect ship hulls for hidden compartments. Colombian troops combed dense jungles for concealed drug launch sites, and even landlocked nations participated by tracing cartel finances and intercepting encrypted communications. This was a truly global effort, uniting nations not only through law enforcement cooperation, but also by a shared commitment to dismantle one of the world's most powerful criminal enterprises. To counter the cartel's swift, go-fast boats, the U.S. Coast Guard formed a specialized unit known as HITRON, the Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron. These elite teams pilot fast MH-65D Dolphin helicopters equipped with sniper rifles and machine guns. When HITRON spots a suspicious vessel speeding through the water, it approaches at low altitude, issuing commands via loudspeakers to halt. If the smugglers refuse, snipers carefully target the engines with .50 caliber rifles, turning off the motors with precision to stop the boat without harming the crew. In response, smugglers adapted. Some disguised their speedboats as ordinary fishing vessels, while others installed hidden compartments beneath the deck to conceal drugs, masking their true purpose. Yet these tactics failed against the vigilant eyes of a dedicated task force. Known as the Joint Interagency Task Force South, this high-security command center brings together top personnel from the FBI, Navy, Coast Guard, Customs, and CIA. It serves as an intelligence hub where real-time information is shared to track suspicious activity. JIATF South monitors shipments continuously, from the moment a boat departs South America until it enters U.S. waters. When suspicious behavior is detected, JIATF can immediately deploy air and sea units to intercept drug vessels before they vanish. Central to this operation are the law enforcement detachment teams, small Coast Guard units stationed aboard Navy ships. While Navy sailors lack arrest authority, Coast Guard personnel have law enforcement powers at sea, making these teams crucial to successful interdictions. Navy vessels such as the USS Gurley and USS Bruins use advanced radar to detect small boats at long distances. Upon detection, Coast Guard LEDIT teams move into board and apprehend suspects. Beyond reactive measures, JIATF employs predictive analytics, using years of data to map likely trafficking routes. This allows them to position ships and aircraft strategically ahead of smugglers' departures. JIATF's effectiveness has grown so significant that cartels now offer substantial rewards for insider information. In response, JIATF continuously adapts its tactics to maintain an edge against some of the world's most dangerous criminal networks. In recent operations, cartels suffered losses exceeding $500 million, devastating blows they never anticipated. Yet the U.S. Navy's campaign against narcotics trafficking was far from over. Since the start of the year, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter James has become a formidable adversary to the cartels, renowned for a 112-day mission that cartel leaders fear to discuss openly. The cutter James, measuring 418 feet in length and staffed by a crew of 150 highly trained personnel, has played a pivotal role in drug interdiction. Over the past 4 months, the ship seized more than 48,000 pounds of narcotics, enough to supply a mid-sized U.S. city for an entire year. These drugs carried an estimated street value of $519 million, marking one of the most significant blows to cartel operations in recent history. January proved particularly intense. On January 5th, the cutter James deployed a drone capable of flying for 18 hours, equipped with cameras powerful enough to read ship names from considerable distances. This drone tracked a suspicious vessel near Ecuador until boarding teams intercepted it, capturing 3 individuals and confiscating over 2,200 pounds of cocaine. The following day escalated further. A patrol aircraft detected 3 go-fast boats traveling in formation, a rare smuggling tactic. Utilizing helicopters, the cutter James intercepted all 3 vessels simultaneously. 9 suspects were detained, and nearly 14,000 pounds of cocaine were seized. On January 7th, smugglers attempted to evade detection using a low-profile vessel designed to avoid radar. Yet the cutter James's helicopter unit acted swiftly, turning off the boat's engines with precision, capturing the crew without harm, and seizing an additional 8,240 pounds of cocaine destined for U.S. markets. Later that month, on January 18th, smugglers attempted to jettison cocaine into the sea to avoid capture. Undeterred, cutter James' crew deployed fast pursuit boats to chase down the fleeing suspects, while other teams recovered approximately 6,000 pounds of floating narcotics before they sank. Supporting these efforts, U.S. Navy ships such as the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul and USS St. Louis conducted similar operations in the Caribbean Sea, capturing large quantities of cocaine and inflicting substantial damage on major cartels, particularly the Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation organizations. Throughout these missions, intelligence gathered by crews has been invaluable. Smuggling routes were mapped, cartel operatives identified, and innovative trafficking methods uncovered. This information now guides strategic planning to disrupt future shipments more effectively. The United States shows no sign of reducing its efforts. Recently, the Pentagon deployed the USS Gravely, a Navy destroyer armed with dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles, to the Gulf Coast near the Texas-Mexico border. This deployment aims to bolster support for the U.S. Border Patrol and Coast Guard operations across both domestic and international waters. When the B-2 stealth bombers are deployed, it will mark a decisive turning point in the campaign against the cartels. The B-2 Spirit is among the most advanced stealth aircraft ever built, capable of penetrating hostile airspace undetected, delivering devastating payloads, and vanishing before adversaries can respond. Each of its 4 engines generates 17,300 pounds of thrust, enabling the bomber to cruise at speeds exceeding 600 miles per hour at altitudes beyond the reach of most missile defense systems, far beyond anything the cartels could deploy. With these bombers in operation, the message is unequivocal. The cartels can no longer find sanctuary in dense jungles or remote underground labs. The skies overhead and waters below have become hostile territory. Even if the cartels were to acquire sophisticated radar and long-range missile systems, their efforts would be futile. Radar systems like the Soviet-era P-18 Spoonrest or the Iranian Qadir, operating in the L-band frequency range of 1 to 2 gigahertz, excel at tracking large aircraft and ships, but are ineffective against stealth platforms like the B-2. Detecting a B-2 with these radars is akin to catching a needle with a fishing net. It simply passes through unnoticed. No matter the radar's power or the operator's skill, the B-2 remains invisible. This stealth capability makes the B-2 ideal for striking cartel targets, whether in desert, jungle, or coastal environments. It can deliver precise, sudden attacks and disappear without a trace, leaving the enemy disoriented and defenseless. After the initial bombing run neutralizes primary targets, the B-2 will withdraw as follow-up strike teams move in. These bombers often circle back for additional strikes, ensuring complete mission success. By the time the bombs detonate, cartel forces will neither have heard the planes nor launched a response. Any existing air defenses would have been destroyed before they could activate alarms. This stealth bomber and the vacuum bomb represent the most powerful non-nuclear option available to the current administration. It sends a clear and unmistakable signal. The United States is prepared to apply overwhelming force to dismantle cartel networks and will not hesitate to do so. Thanks for watching. While you're still here, click on the link appearing on your screen to watch another of our interesting videos. See you there.